Hey, welcome to Cabaret. We're going to make a short video on how to take the boat out of the slip. There are three things we want to undo before we take the boat out. One is the electrical power, TV antenna, and the water. So here they are right here. Before we undo the electrical power, let's make sure the generator runs. Okay, our electrical panel is behind this picture. Turn on the light so we can see. There are the switches to turn on the generator. Make sure the generator doesn't have a load on it when we try to turn it on, otherwise it will make it harder to turn it on. Here's the switch right here. This is the breaker for the generator. You can see that it's off because this is covering it. Right now we're on shore power, so this is on. To turn shore power off, we flip it off, flip it over. Generator power is off right now, so let's just start the generator. Press and hold the preheat for about 3 seconds and hit the start button. So this is what it looks like after we've turned the generator on. We turn shore power off, switch over to the generator side, and turn generator on. Remember, have this off when we're trying to start the generator, otherwise there'll be a load on it and it'll make it harder to start. In order to stop the generator, probably best to turn the load off first and then hit this button. Sometimes the generator will stop on its own and won't start again. In that case, turn the load off like it is right now, load off. Push the stop button in for about 5 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. That resets something in the electronics. Then we can try to start it again. Preheat for 3 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003, and start. And there we go. Then back here, generator power on. Okay, and the other two things we talked about for getting the Cabaret ready to go. TV antenna right here, just unscrew this, put it on the boat. Water power here, turn this to off. And unscrew this. You might need a rinse sometimes, this can get hard. Okay, we're back at the front panel. A couple things we want to look at is make sure we have enough gas and enough water. So turn on the starboard key. Here's our water gauge. You can see we're full, just below full. And our fuel gauges right here are full. The starboard gauge reads lower than it actually is, so it'll say empty when you have some fuel left. In order to fill the water before we leave, turn it on out front, flip this valve, turn that valve to on, and you'll hear water pour into the tanks. Check your gauge, make sure that you don't overfill the tanks. You don't want to fill the whole boat up with fresh water. After you've filled up the water tanks and disconnected the water supply from the dock supply, you'll be on boat supply, and you want to use the water pump down below to keep the water pressurized. So make sure the water pressure circuit breaker, this one, is on. That's when you're on your boat water and you're away from the dock. That'll keep pressure at the faucets. Okay, let's start up the engines. First thing we got to do, make sure these two shift control breakers are on. And then one more. The other breaker we want to turn on is cockpit supply. That turns on the rudder indicator. Okay, you'll hear an obnoxious beeping noise. That tells you just turned the breakers on. What we want to do now is hold in this black button and push these levers forward so that they're blinking. Port and starboard, all while we're holding in the black button. Let the button off, and now the engines are in neutral so that we can start them up and give them gas. So let's try to start the starboard engine. Okay, in order to start the engine, turn the key and give it some gas. Let's do the starboard engine first. Okay, you should hear the engine cranking and starting. If you pull the lever back, you'll see the light glows. That means you're now able to engage the engine in gear. Right now we're in neutral, but if you go forward, the boat will be in forward gear. If you go reverse, we'll be in reverse. Do the same thing for the port side. Okay, port side is started. Pull it back, and now you'll be able to engage the port side. You can look at the tachometer. Here's the starboard tachometer. It reads 1,000. The port tachometer is wrong. It's off all the time. So just look at your handles. They'll be about the same place. They'll be about the both engines. So if you look at your handles, if they're in the same position, the tachs will be the same for both engines. Okay, this is the bow thruster. It's electric, so you don't have to have the engines on in order for it to work. Turn it on, you'll see the light come on. This way I'll go starboard, and this way I'll go port. Turn it off when you're done. Here's the rudder indicator. If you turn all the way left, you'll get 4 red lights. Turn back the other way, and you'll get 4 green lights. When you've reached your destination and you're ready to turn off the engines, go ahead and turn off these breakers and the cockpit supply and the cockpit supply. This will turn off the rudder indicator and some lights on the arch on the flying bridge, which are essentially useless. So just turn this off. Also, when you're leaving, don't forget about your propane upstairs. You might need to turn it back on for hot water. And don't forget to untie your lines. Have a great time. When you're coming back in, just do everything in reverse. You'll be fine.